We'll now move on to the regular council meeting.
Council has adopted a procedure that we will give Council the opportunity to give consideration to items from the public hearing agenda immediately following the public hearing. That's when there are items where no further information has been requested of staff, generally speaking. So that's the purpose of this meeting. Ms. Group.
Oops. The first item on the agenda is in relation to 1404 Coast Meridian Road, and the staff recommendation is that Council give second, third, and fourth and final readings to City of Coquitlam Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4095-2010.
Moved by Councillor Robinson, second by Councillor Asmundson. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Second item is Bylaw number 4098-2010 for the property located at 7 Burbidge Street, and the staff recommendation is that Council give second, third, and fourth and final readings to City of Coquitlam Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4098-2010.
Moved by Councillor Reamer, second by Councillor Lynch. Councillor McDonnell.
Thank you. Again, like I said before, I really encourage an opportunity like this coming to Coquitlam. I would hope that we could work with the proponent to find a more suitable spot. I've been down to this area. I've looked around. Parking is going to be an issue, as is all the clients going to this facility on the roads down there in an industrial zone. It's just it's the wrong place for it, and I can't support at this address.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. I initially supported it, thinking and wanting to go to public hearing and hear what people had to say about badminton facility in an industrial zone. And the three of us who sit on land use took a little field trip out to take a look at parking and to take a look at the site. And what struck me was, after having spent a couple of hours in land use and we focusing on greenhouse gas emissions and how are we going to be addressing this, and here we have a facility down in an industrial zone that is not served at all by transit, and encourage people to be active, and I think it's great, and would love to have a facility in our community. I'm more inclined to consider what Councillor McDonnell has been saying. It's a great idea, great concept. Would love to have it in our community, but is this the right place? Is this the best place? And at this point, I'm inclined to agree, especially also considering that there is really not sufficient parking. We certainly did get response from somebody down in the area who said that there's already limited parking. They're already squeezed during the day. There's overflow that's coming into their parking lots from Maccabee. And into the site, and I'm just concerned that we're going to get a crunch. And there's no alternative to really get down there. I think there is one bus, but I don't think it's efficient way to go. People will not take 3 transfers to come from the plateau down there to use transit. So I'm inclined to not support this proposal at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Asmussen.
Well, I guess I'm going to speak on the theme here. I'm not in favor of this proposal. I know that area quite well. I know the truck traffic on Burbidge is a major truck route in and out through there, and it would be adding traffic and cars there is just going to add to the problems in that industrial area. Councillor Robinson mentioned today in the land use meeting there was a workshop for council on our greenhouse reduction targets for the city of Coquitlam, and trying to put facilities within easy use of people. This isn't it. This isn't where the population base that would use this facility would be. It's going to be a car-driven area for people to get to. There is a transit from Coquitlam Center. There's one bus, but you still, once you get off the bus, you got to walk about 6 blocks down an industrial road to get there, which isn't very appealing to get into and use this facility. I would love to see this facility somewhere else within the city, probably within the town center or somewhere in that area where the population base can better access it. I'm not in support of putting some of our recreation facilities within these industrial zones, especially in this type of an area. So for those reasons there, I won't be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reamer.
Thank you. I initially supported it, and I am going to support it, being that I feel I received a positive response to my question concerning parking. I now know that there was probably enough parking to satisfy this. I too don't think it's probably the best location. However, I don't know of another location in the town center right now that could take this type of facility, because you need a certain height and what have you. And I'm certainly willing to work with a proponent after they've moved in here to see if we can find them another more appropriate spot. But I think in the meantime, being that this proponent came, they were originally planning on locating in another municipality, and I think that we ought to be somewhat flexible in allowing them to come to Coquitlam, because it has been a mainstay of ours to try to attract economic development, and so I will be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
Thank you. I went down there today as well to look at it, and I get concerned because we have Maccabee Park down there, and of course it gets a lot of use in the summertime, and there's literally nowhere to park, believe me. And I find it really odd that the parking that was all along that one side that we saw, and we all questioned the same thing, and that the owner of the building would give all of that parking to one tenant. It just makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense. So I have a feeling that once things got in and got going, it would just be a nightmare of parking. And the thing that concerns me more is when you do go in on Burbidge, getting down into Maccabee, there are huge trucks going in and out of there. And it is, you really have to watch what you're doing. So that, when you go into that whole complex in there, they have a median in the middle of the road going in. And I just think that for big trucks and all the traffic that's down there, it's just the wrong place. I don't think it's safe. So I can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I acknowledge that there are going to be some issues with this property. I also acknowledge that by my count it has failed. I'm disappointed in that because this might be the wrong place for recreational activities, but we did put a park down there right next to it. I want to see us find ways that we can accommodate those private sector groups that want to provide services that our residents are demanding. I know that right now, notwithstanding I think everyone's wish to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, many of these patrons are driving to Richmond or someplace else to play badminton. This would have been an opportunity to keep that economic activity here at home. I take at face value staff's assurance that the parking has been worked out. I have never found that if they say that it actually hasn't. So I acknowledge that the parking, I suspect, is not the issue that many council members are concerned about, but I understand their concern. At the same time, I think that when we do put when we put parkland in our community, and we say it's not a very good place to put people's physical activity, I wish we had better buses down there, but we don't, and nonetheless, that's where the building is that has the sufficient height. We're going to have challenges trying to find another location for this. I'll be supporting it. I think it's not the perfect place for it, but it certainly is a good thing to have in our community. Seeing no other speakers, all in favor? Opposed? I have Councillor McDonnell, Councillor Robinson, Councillor Asmussen, Councillor Reader opposed. The motion fails. Councillor Asmussen.
I will be stepping out of this next item for perceived potential conflict. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy City Clerk.
Item 3 is bylaw number 4096, 2010, relating to the property at 3368 David Avenue, and the staff recommendation is that council give second, third, and fourth and final readings to City of Coquitlam zoning amendment bylaw number 4096, 2010.
Moved by Councillor Reamer, second by Councillor Lynch. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
The final item on tonight's agenda relates to bylaw numbers 4068 and 4069, 2009. And this is for the text amendment to remove existing development application procedures established in Part 4 of the zoning bylaw, establish new exemptions for development permits, and designate new areas for temporary commercial and industrial use permits. And the first staff recommendation is that Council give second, third, fourth, and final readings to City of Coquitlam Development Procedures Bylaw, number 4068, 2009.
Move recommendation.
Second. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, second by Councillor Aspenson. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. I like actually all parts of this except the ability of Council to waive a public hearing. And I appreciate staff coming back with information that I asked at the, I guess it was first reading, about could we have a more stringent voting requirement, perhaps a 2/3 majority, and apparently provincial legislation does not allow for that. And so for that reason only, I'm not going to support this, only because I have some real concerns about public not being allowed to provide comment in a formal way, and that the risk of a simple majority somehow means that there's less opportunity for public. My preference would be to have a more stringent requirement in order to waive a public hearing. Tip.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Seeing none. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Robinson is opposed. The motion carries.
The second recommendation is that Council give second, third, and fourth and final readings to City of Coquitlam Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4069, 2009.
Moved by Councillor Aspenson, second by Councillor Reamer. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
The second recommendation was to give second, third, and fourth and final readings to City of Coquitlam Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 4069, 2009. The first recommendation was to give second, third, and fourth and final readings to the Development Procedures Bylaw.
Get it right? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, that's been clarified. I'll do it again. All in favor? Opposed? That motion carries unanimously.
That concludes the items on tonight's agenda.
Councillor Aspenson moved. Councillor Robinson seconds. Adjournment. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I'd invite all of our residents. This Thursday is the big day. The torch for the Olympic Games comes to Coquitlam Thursday morning. Lining the route starting around 7 o'clock, but also Mackin Park, an assembly of thousands on the morning of February 11th. We'd invite you all around 9 o'clock. Wear red. Come on out. Don't drive because there'll be no parking down there, but come on out. We'd love to see you out to enthusiastically support this. There was some confusion in the paper related to which event it was. The morning event is for multitudes, morning multitudes. The evening event is for 800, so you have to get a ticket because it'll be in a tent. So in the evening, you'll need a ticket. In the morning, and in fact all day, it's come on down, celebrate with us. Okay? All the best.